Evening. Thank you for joining us this evening. We are here to discuss the incidents that have occurred in the past 2 days at the Eli Whitney Technical High School here in Hamden. Yesterday, we received information from a parent who contacted Troop I in Bethany to report that there was a threatening social media post. The school resource officer and Central District Major Crime Detectives looked into the matter, conducted an investigation. Today, a second threat was received. It's a separate incident, but loosely related. That information, we would like to thank the students of the high school for reporting that to the school principal, which brought it to our attention. Both incidents were investigated by the school resource officer and the Central District Major Crime Squad detectives. We would like to report that 2 arrests have been made. One individual, a 14-year-old male, was arrested by juvenile summons related to yesterday's incident. The charges are threatening in the first degree, breach of peace in the second degree, and intimidation based on bigotry and bias in the third degree. That individual will be reporting to the New Haven Juvenile Court tomorrow morning. Today, the individual related to today's threat was also arrested by juvenile summons. His charges, also a 14-year-old male, are threatening in the first degree and breach of peace in the second degree. And he also will be reporting tomorrow morning for his court date at the New Haven Juvenile Court. We want to bring awareness and urge students to be kind to one another. Yesterday's incident is something that was based on bullying. There were several comments related to bullying. We want to just make sure that people are aware of that and that students recognize that there are resources available. The school superintendent can speak more to that. But we also want to let people know that this is something that we are taking very seriously. This is nothing that should be joked around about. Currently, there's a social media trend right now where juveniles are being urged to post this, in essence, to create a situation where they get dismissed from school. This is something that has to be taken very seriously. We take this seriously not only as a legitimate threat, but also in the situation where it turns out, thankfully, to be a hoax. We want the parents to be aware of that and to spread that message to their kids and let them know that this is something that will be taken seriously. Right now, I'd like to turn it over to the school superintendent to speak to the administrative side of how the schools have handled this situation.
Thank you very much, Officer. In fact, today and yesterday proved as amazing opportunities for us to work closely with the Connecticut State Police, with whom we are very grateful for their support. We've also been working closely with the Governor's Office and with the State Department of Education under the support of Commissioner Charlene Russell Tucker. All of our agencies take this extremely seriously. As parents are aware, we've been following up on recent threats here at Eli Whitney, along with other schools, CTEC schools in the state. And as a result, we have been able to identify, as the officer just mentioned, 2 students who were directly involved. My understanding is we have other opportunities perhaps to discover other students and their involvement as well. The most important message I can bring to you tonight, in addition to the fact that we take this very seriously, we will be following up with disciplinary action on students who have been arrested, as well as any students who are discovered as taking part in these threats, is that we need parents and students to stay vigilant, to do what they've been doing so far, which is to let us know if they hear or see anything that is suspect, to report that to their school principal, to school authorities, so that we can act on it as swiftly as possible. Again, we're very grateful to the support of certainly parents here in Hamden who have tolerated a lot over the last couple of days. We want to reassure you that our buildings remain safe and secure. And again, with great thanks to the state police and local police support, we will make sure that students remain safe in our schools as they continue their education going forward. Be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Were the students arrested, students at the school, at this school?
Yes, correct. There are 2 students that have been identified. My understanding is one is arrested, one will be arrested shortly.
And they both go to Eli Tech.
That's correct, yes.
And
Did the two students work together, or was this a separate incident?
They were 2 separate incidents, to my understanding.
were they here on campus when these threats were made?
I believe one was on campus when it was followed up today, and the other one was not.
Could these students face expulsion? Can you talk a little bit about, we know the law enforcement consequences, what the consequences could be in the district level?
Sure. At this particular point, both students face a maximum out-of-school suspension with possibility of expulsion as a follow-up, yes.
What is maximum out-of-school suspension?
That would be 10 days.
So right now, would it be safe to say that they are not allowed back on property?
That's correct. They are not allowed back in school or on school grounds for the next 10 days as we consider follow-up action from there.
What did you say in terms of expulsion after you said the suspension? You said possibility of expulsion after, or no?
That's correct, yes.
It was mentioned that this might be related to bullying. Was the student arrested, a subject of bullying, believed to be the subject of bullying, or the bully?
That I'm not able to respond to, but I'm sure the officer has additional information.
I can speak to that.
Sure.
Upon speaking with the school resource officer, and he informed me as to the content of the social media post from yesterday, which referenced the bullying, that's something where that individual was referencing that they were the victim of being bullied. And certainly that's something that we follow up. Not only do we conduct our investigation, but part of that is looking at the full scope of the content and the motivation of that type of a post.
So the student that was arrested was the victim, believed to be the victim of bullying.
We can't confirm that right now, but it's something that they would look into, certainly.
Can you just one more time just say there was one yesterday, which one's arrested yesterday and which today? And
So there were
charges
2
just one more
arrests.
time?
Yes, there were 2 arrests. Both arrests occurred today. There was one incident that occurred yesterday, which was a threatening social media post. Both accounts were created on Instagram. They were created as new accounts under the premise of trying to remain anonymous. So the incident that occurred yesterday was reported by a parent, which we greatly appreciate that. I mean, parents know their kids better than anybody. So it's something that we look at as a collective effort, as a community. As law enforcement, we handle a certain portion of that, but certainly it starts in the home. And we like to work together with the parents, with the students, with the schools, and with our law enforcement resources.
So both were in reference to social media on Instagram.
Both were Instagram accounts that were created as new accounts. Only the posts from yesterday referenced bullying in their post.
In terms of actual threats, though, they both made threats on social media using Instagram.
Correct.
And both have been arrested.
Both have been arrested, yes.
And can you just repeat the charges and the ages one more time?
Yep. So the individual that was arrested yesterday, that related to yesterday's incident, is a 14-year-old male that was charged with threatening in the 1st degree, breach of peace in the 2nd degree, intimidation based on bigotry and bias in the 3rd degree, and will be going to court at the New Haven Juvenile Court tomorrow morning. The individual related to today's incident is also a 14-year-old male, and that 14-year-old male was charged with threatening in the 1st degree, breach of peace in the 2nd degree, and will also be going to juvenile court in New Haven tomorrow morning.
But not the intimidation.
Correct.
So just to be clear, none of these threats were found to be valid in any way.
Correct. These were found to just be sent as a hoax, which is related to this social media trend that we're seeing across the nation right now, where students are looking to create these anonymous social media accounts and create and post these threatening posts in an attempt to get dismissed from school.
And these suspects, they're not related at this time, you don't think, to any of the other threats at the high school or any other districts that may have seen these threats?
The information that we have shows that these incidents are not related.
Were these threats directed? You referenced one of them being referencing bullying, but do you believe that these were directed at the entire school, both of them, or isolated incidents?
These were threats that were vague and general and referenced the entire school, not individuals.
And expecting more arrests, possibly? Can you get into that a little bit?
At this time, we don't have any information that would lead to additional arrests. However, with that being said, they pursue every lead. If they discover additional information or new information is brought forward, they'll pursue that and they'll look to seek an arrest if that's appropriate.
And speaking of the district, can you talk a little bit about talking to students and making sure that they understand that these have serious consequences by posting these sort of things on social media? How do you have that conversation with them and make sure that their parents are also aware of it and having that conversation?
Absolutely. I appreciate that question. It really focuses on awareness, and our students, staff, and parents are all well aware that as state police are dealing with this in Connecticut, we've seen this across the nation, and they are aware of how serious it is. In addition to that, we've had opportunities to speak directly with students and staff, not only about the seriousness of the events at hand, but about going forward, about being sure that when they hear something or they become aware of behaviors that perhaps aren't positive, that they bring that to somebody in the school. We, again, are so thankful that the parent made the call yesterday and made us aware right away of the threat that had been made at Eli Whitney. Finally, I would also like to say that as a school district, we have very well-defined safety and security protocols in place, both at the district level and at the school level, so that if we do incur events like this, we are well prepared to deal with them. We are directly connected to state and local police. And if students make the unfortunate choice to issue a threat to one of our buildings, it is dealt with very quickly and very swiftly. And our students are maintained very safely in the buildings while these threats are dealt with. So hence, we are fortunate enough to say that today we've discovered 2 students who made the poor decision, unfortunate decision to issue threats. But I can assure students who may be thinking about that that we are very well equipped to follow up and deal with any and all future events as well.
With everything that has happened over this whole entire area the past 2 weeks, certain schools are taking additional measures. They obviously may have had more incidents than here, but have you been in talks to, or can you describe what your certain cases here in terms of school resource officers and security guards, and if you've had any thoughts about, say, metal detectors and those types
Sure,
of
those,
devices, because I feel like that's being a big conversation in this area.
yeah, those decisions are made on an individualized community and school basis. We are working extremely closely with our school resource officers, as evidenced here at Eli Whitney. Our school resource officers are not only here to provide safety measures, but they're also here to interact and work with students to help them make better choices and to support them with their needs as they go through the school day. So those school resource officers are incredibly valuable to us as a district. And they are our main line of information in terms of students and staff and what they may be hearing going through the school day. But other interventions that you're referencing are certainly those that are made on a school-wide, individualized school basis with the community input as well. And to date, we've not explored anything in addition to what we already have in place.
How many school resources officers do you have?
I'm sorry, say again?
How many school resource officers do you have?
I believe at this time we have over 10 in our district, and that number will be expanding in the next couple of months as well.
In the high school here?
The high school here we have 2, One.
One. Okay.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Let me hit something off. Ratliff, there's multiple investigations going on around the state, ongoing investigations. In this incident, we don't expect any further arrests, but we do expect arrests in other investigations, both at a local level and state level, as this is being taken very seriously. As far as the metal detector question, the Division of Emergency Management provides resources, planning, and direction for schools, and also grant funding for that type of planning. However, they don't discuss what security is at individual schools themselves. Thanks.
How soon do you expect some of the arrests that you're talking about, say, Camden, some of these other districts in the area?
As soon as possible would be the best answer to give you. Look how fast the Connecticut State Police brought this to an ending. Amazing investigation by them. It's important that parents know that and students know that they're taking it very seriously.
Any indication that these incidents are related to?
Yeah, okay, so let's talk related. No, they're not tied in. The Connecticut Intelligence Center, CTIC, is close to putting out a product. It's a law enforcement fusion center here in the state, close to putting out a product to all law enforcement agencies regarding these threats. No, there doesn't seem to be any organized effort to develop these threats around the state. Related in that whenever there's a school shooting in the country that receives a lot of attention, you can absolutely expect these threats to occur in the days and weeks after. Law enforcement handles them as real threats when they get them, and then equally as seriously on the other end once they're learned to be hoax, as you saw the detectives and the school resource officer handle it today.
So you don't believe these are copycat incidents?
No, I do believe they're copycat incidents. Absolutely, yes, that's what I believe. But they're not like, it's not like one ring of people that are spreading them out all over the place. I believe they're absolutely copycat incidents. That's something that it's a phenomenon that you see after after most school shootings.
Do you believe that some of them could be coming from out of state, like we saw in New Haven yesterday when one of the minors is from out of state?
Absolutely, but what you're seeing here is typical. That it's the students, as she mentioned, trying to get a day off. Unfortunately, it has severe consequences.
Does it seem though like it's increasing? Obviously, I know that there's copycat. It seems like it's just been ongoing these days with the weapons brought to school and these threats, at least the last couple of weeks, even months, in some of the districts here.
I would say that's accurate. Exasperated by social media and where social media is, and that's only growing faster. So it's incumbent. Look, we can do the best we can as a state, but it comes down to grade superintendents like they have here and the individual districts to communicate to their students. And also, look, you're going to see extra cops in front of schools. You're going to see troopers in front of schools after incidents like this, because it might not be related to any specific threat, but it's to make students know they're safe and there's somebody there.
Are we going to see an increased presence at some schools here in Hampton starting tomorrow as well?
Superintendent?
Sorry, what's the question?
More cops?
Is there going to be increased police presence at some schools here in Hampton?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah,
Well, you're only speaking on behalf of the technical
that's
skills.
correct.
You're
Yes,
not
I
the
can't speak for,
super-
yes, yeah.
So, Tony, yes, there'll be troopers at schools tomorrow and the resident towns as well. Increased presence. You're seeing that at every school right now.
Yeah.
When we were talking about more arrests at some of these other schools, is that specifically in state police, or I mean these other local organizations or local agencies as well?
I can't see you. So what did you say?
No, I was saying in terms of the arrests, there obviously have been multiple incidents at different districts that weren't necessarily a state-run school.
Yep.
But you said that are you going to be the lead person in terms of the arrests for all of those?
I'm not. No. What we have is the Connecticut CTIC, the Connecticut Intelligence Center. It's a fusion center for law enforcement who track everything, and they provide that investigative information to law enforcement agencies across the state. They do this on a daily basis for a wide variety of types of criminal investigations. They have a product. I spoke to the deputy commissioner today, and they're going to have a product going out this afternoon that will dive into that, but a lot of that will not be information available publicly. There's many local police departments investigating many threats around the state, around the country right now, as well as the state police have a few irons in the fire, and also the Connecticut State Police are requested to assist in a lot of the local investigations, as well as they have some computer investigative resources that others might not.
Can you talk more about this social media trend? Are you seeing it on any particular platforms? Does it have a name? Any more details about that?
No, no, I'm not prepared to answer that at this point. You know, certainly TikTok and whatever. You know, I have a 12-year-old daughter, and she asked me about it. So if you're a parent, your kids certainly asked about it, and she asked about it under the guise of getting a day off. So that gives you some indication as to really what the nexus or what's generating these things.
Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you.
Sergeant Pagan, you have more?
So one thing that I just wanted to add is in reference to which social media platforms and different things. Some of the things that parents can do to help keep an eye out. You know, monitor your child's social media accounts. Make sure that you have access to the laptops, the computers that they are using. You know, whether there's many devices. It's not just it's laptops, school laptops, cell phones. Make sure you have the passwords for that. Make sure you're monitoring what your kids are doing. It will help prepare you. It will not only just curb things like these types of trends, but also other trends that you see that may be harmful to your child. The better prepared that you are, can definitely prevent a tragedy from happening, whether it's something that is, you know, serious consequences related to this type of an incident where there's a hoax that is done, or something that could be physically harmful to your kid, where, you know, these different challenges that we're seeing, you know, they're challenging juveniles to do things, to eat things and try things, and, you know, the more you monitor what your kid is doing, the more prepared that you will be, and you let your kid know that you care about what they're doing. Sometimes they may not like it, but I'd say that probably comes with the territory, but the better prepared can certainly lead to a lot of prevention. I also wanted to say thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening.